Hey Mustangs, how y'all doing? Welcome to session 2, and this is going to be all about modern Texas. When we say modern Texas, what I mean is Texas as we get to the 1900s and moving forward from there. One thing I do realize that I didn't even address, hey, I'm not sure if you noticed, but I've got kind of some funky looking hair going on. I got this nice handlebar mustache. My kids are calling it my Duke Kaboom from Toy Story 4. A little mohawk and some crazy sideburns. We had a crazy hair day in my class during my class Zooms last week, and so I went ahead and decided to just keep it for the recording, and then I don't think it's going to stay on much longer. Miss Parr's not a big fan of it. But anyway, I digress. Let's go ahead and get into modern Texas and what Texas, as Texas is growing more into modern times. We're now going to be past, and the Civil War has happened. We've had the open range. We've had the trail drive. We've had barbed wire come and put an end to that. The railroads are starting to spread all throughout Texas. Oil has been found in Texas and things like that. And that's going to, all this together is causing some big changes in Texas. And Texas is going to become more of a modern state, less of a frontier state where there's not many people and not much stuff going on other than the ranching now. So we're going to bring a lot of change into Texas. So let's start off by talking about some of these changes that happen. Now it starts off, some of these changes happen in other parts of the world that ended up affecting us living in Texas. Okay. And the first thing we have going on is there was World War One. In the early 1900s, in 1914, war breaks out in Europe. And you might say, oh, hey, Europe, what's that have to do with us? Well, we'll get to it in just a second. But basically, there was two teams in this war. There was the Allied powers and the Central powers. Okay. If you look at this map here, the Central powers are in orange. Okay. The Allied powers in purple. Now, there's a couple other countries involved in this here, but the main power brokers, the main armies and the strength, the countries with a lot of strength in this, in the Allied powers, those were Great Britain, France, Italy, and Russia. Okay. Great Britain, United Kingdom, France, Italy, and Russia. These were the main big guys. Yeah, there's some others. You see some of these other countries here as well, but those were the main big countries. And the Central powers, Germany, Austria-Hungary, and the Ottoman Empire. Okay, now we don't have a country called Austria-Hungary. There's Austria and there's Hungary, and the Ottoman Empire doesn't exist. That's actually present-day Turkey, but that was the names of these countries at this time, and those were the big countries involved. And the United States, we were just kind of like, let's stay out of it. This doesn't concern us. Let's just stay out of it. Let all these European countries deal with it. But a lot of the people living in Texas and in the United States were from these countries. They had families from these countries. And it kind of leads to, the United States does get drawn into the war. And we join in the war, and we join on the Allied powers team. We're with the United Kingdom, like England, France, Italy, and Russia. And when we come in, the Allied powers win the war. About 200,000 brave Texans fought this war as soldiers in the Army and the Navy. Okay, so that's World War One. That goes on. The United States and Texas gets involved in some world conflicts. Okay, well, after World War One, great jobs in factories. Like people were working factories during the war to build tanks, ammunition, things for the war. And people were moving to work in these factories, and they're starting to make good money. And people are moving from the farms, from the country, to the cities. From the farms, rural, country, to the cities, urban. Okay? And those are pretty important words to know. We've talked about them before. We have rural meaning country, urban meaning city. Okay? So people in these cities, they made good money working in these factories. And when you're working on a farm, you don't have a lot of free time. And sun up to sundown, you're basically working, taking care of animals, taking care of the crops. Okay, but now working in these factories, they had free time and money, and they could spend this money on things like parties, cars, refrigerators, radios, all these new inventions. And speaking of the cars, Henry Ford started, basically, he developed a way to make cars cheaply and fast. And it was the assembly line. You'll learn more about that in the reading too, a little bit as well. But it made these cars cheap, and many people bought these cars. Cars run on oil, gasoline. Gasoline comes from oil. You have to go. That's what these refineries do. They take the oil, making gasoline. And Texas had lots of oil. So Texans start making lots and lots of money because also this oil is becoming more and more valuable, more and more important. Okay. So we call this the roaring 20s because things were just going great. Everybody was having a grand old time. Lots of money, lots of fun stuff to do. Okay. Now, as this is going on, The end of the 1920s, this roaring 20s came to a screeching halt. We had the great stock market crash in October of 1929. Basically what that is, people had invested in, they put money in a lot of companies, and these companies got to where they weren't worth much money, and people lost a lot of money. Banks lost this money. And a sad thing back then, when you had your money in the bank, if that bank went under, if that bank went out of business, your money that was in that bank was gone. And so as these businesses closed, these businesses didn't pay back the banks for their loans. So these banks ran out of money. And because of that, the people ran out of money and the people lost their jobs. And this right here is an unemployment line. It's a line where people they lost their job. If you look, it says free cup of coffee and donuts for unemployed people that didn't have work at the time. And at the same time that was going on in the cities, a big drought was lasting several years, hit Texas and the Great Plains of the United States. This is where lots of the crops were being grown. Farmers couldn't grow crops. People lost everything. If you look at this picture right here, this is after several years of basically no rain. All the crops, they're not growing. And so there's lots and lots of wind erosion. There's no plants to hold the soil down. As the wind blows, it picks up and we have lots of dust storms. And look at this car, this farm, this fence post, get covered up with dirt and dust. Okay. So people are losing everything. And this starts what's called the Great Depression. A really, really hard time in the United States. Millions of people were without jobs. Okay. Farmers were not able to make money. People lost their homes. Banks closed, lost their life savings. Really, really hard time for people in Texas and the United States. Now, in 1933, well, there's a new president we get. His name's Franklin D. Roosevelt. Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Right here, we call him FDR. He started something called the New Deal. And the New Deal, what it was a plan to end the Great Depression, to get people jobs. So the U.S. government started just basically creating jobs. They said, oh, you know what? We need people to build roads. Let's hire all these people that don't have jobs to work and build roads. Oh, we need some more national parks. Let's hire people to set up all these national parks. Okay, we need new government buildings. Let's hire these people that don't have jobs. We need, the Hoover Dam was built during this time. Thousands of people that did not have a job because of the Great Depression now could get a job paid for by the government to get their jobs back. Okay. Now this did a great job. It got people back to work. Not everybody liked how much power the New Deal. That's what Roosevelt's plan was called, the New Deal. Not everybody liked how much power it gave the government because it got to where the government had all these jobs. All these people were being employed by the government. And the government was having to spend a lot of money. But the one good thing they did, it got people back to work. Right? More than one good thing, but that's the big thing it did, was it got people back to work. And that's what the New Deal was. As this New Deal was starting to ramp up and people are starting to get back to work, another world war happens. Again, countries in Europe, and this now included Japan, Russia, Germany, England, France, all these countries, Italy, it starts another war. These countries are all close to each other. They don't get along. And in the United States still, we wanted to stay out of it. We didn't want to really have much to do with it. We were trying to be neutral. Okay. But until December 7th, 1941, Japan had a sneak attack on the U.S. Navy base of Pearl Harbor in Hawaii. Killed many U.S. soldiers there. And that brought the United States into the war. Okay. Texas, again, gasoline that we could use to power the ships, the tanks, the planes. Factories and refineries got back up to work. People that didn't have jobs could join the army. And so all these people that didn't have jobs are now getting more jobs, are coming back. Refineries, soldiers, things like that are able to do, that people are now able to get these jobs if they still are looking for jobs. Okay. The U.S. was on the side of the winning team again in World War II. The World War II ended in 1945, and when that happens, the Great Depression was over. Now, I do want you to watch this video here. It's about a 10-minute long video, and it's kind of like play animation, but it's about Audie Murphy. He was an amazing hero of World War II, and he's from Texas. Okay. As a matter of fact, you watch this video, and they refer to him as, they call him the Tiny Soldier. And that's going to be our secret code of the week this week. So this week I want you to send a Schoology message to your teacher that says Tiny Soldier. And that'll let them know that you watched the video, at least to hear, and you know what's going on. But watch this here. It's a cool, amazing story about this guy, how he was such a great hero, incredibly decorated hero, and then actually after the war ends up becoming a movie star. Okay. And so this is what's going on in the first half of the 1900s here in Texas. Okay. Things were going kind of ebbs and flows as far as things going great, having a tough time, ebbs and flows a little bit. Okay. And now after we finish this, after you've done the reading, what you're going to be doing for your turn-in assignment this week is a cause and effect. You have a document right here. And what it is you're going to be looking, these are some causes, 1, 2, 3, 4 causes. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4 effects. You're going to cut it out. And you're going to glue it where you think it matches with the cause. Which effects here match with the cause? You can do it on paper here. We also can do it in Schoology. There's a Schoology tool where you can do it digitally. You can drag and drop and put them in there and submit it that way. Okay. So I hope you guys learned a little bit about modern Texas, how Texas kind of is moving into a more modern time and a much more modern state. Take care, guys.